You are watching the World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bava. Let's begin with a quick look at the headlines we're tracking at the moment. Hamas says it has launched rockets at Tel Aviv, prompting sirens to sound in the Israeli city for the first time in several months. The number of Tory MPs standing down at the UK general election has surpassed the Conservative Party record set back in 1997 when Labour won a landslide under Sir Tony Blair. In the wake of Rishi Sunak triggering a snap summer poll, 78 Tory MPs have now resigned ahead of the July 4th election. The judge from India at the International Court of Justice, Justice Dalveer Bhandari, has voted in favour of new provisional measures that order Israel to immediately end military operations in Rafah in southern Gaza and open the governor's border crossing for urgent aid deliveries. India is once again on the big stage of world cinema. Kolkata-born Anasuya Sen-Gupta made history by winning the Best Actress award at the Cannes Film Festival. Payal Kapadia's All We Imagine has lied back the Grand Prix, the second highest award at the Cannes Film Festival. And sunflowers were the first ones to know I. From Chidananda S. Nayak, a student from FTII Pune, received the Last in F award for Best Short. China's premier will be holding a rare summit with US allied South Korea and Japan. Leaders from China, Japan and South Korea will meet for the first three-way talks in 4 years in Seoul as they try to revive trade and security dialogues hampered by global tensions. Well, a big focus. Hamas says it has launched rockets at Tel Aviv, prompting sirens to sound in the Israeli city for the first time in several months. But the Israeli military has said that 8 rockets were launched from the Rafah area in southern Gaza, where its forces have continued a ground assault despite an order from the International Court of Justice to halt operations there. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health in Gaza says at least 35 Palestinians were killed and dozens more were injured as a result of Israeli airstrikes on a camp in Rafah for displaced people. This as several European countries are actually slated to formally recognize the Palestinian state, which Israel opposes. This is going to happen on Tuesday, the same day the hostage and ceasefire talks are supposed to resume. But the rocket attack was seen as a show of military might from Hamas ahead of the negotiations.
Today, Hamas terrorists in Gaza fired 8 rockets at central Israel from Rafah, sending millions of Israelis to bomb shelters. Hamas launched these rockets from near 2 mosques in Rafah.
Joining us for a quick update from Ground Zero, we have with us Arab Affairs correspondent Aaron Singer from Israel TV. Thanks so much, Aaron, for joining us. Now, we are aware that 8 rockets have been fired. Has there been any damage or reports of any casualties so far? And was Israel caught unaware?
Hello. According to the latest reports, there was one report of light injuries northern to Tel Aviv in the city of Herzliya. But I must add that according to military sources, the latest launch of missiles from the city of Rafah in the Gaza Strip was something that the Israeli authorities were concerned about and had initial information or military information regarding to this launch. They are saying that the Hamas organization, and especially the missiles units, are doing are doing the best they can in order to use all the missiles they have in the Rafah area before the IDF is approaching this area. And as you probably know, the Israeli army, the IDF, is now launching or has launched a new military operation in the city of Rafah. And it seems that they are under pressure, and this is why they were launching these rockets to the city of Tel Aviv. on the city of Tel Aviv.
Well, we are well aware that Israel has just been ordered by the World Court to halt its military invasion of Rafah. Israel, though, says it wants to root out several Hamas battalions holed up in Rafah and actually rescue hostages it says are being held up in that area. But it's hard to ignore, Erin, that Israel's war in Gaza has worsened the plight of civilians and caused an international outcry. How do you see this latest attack, though?
Well, if you ask Hamas, they are willing, or they would like the Israeli forces to get into Rafah for their own reasons. They want to show the world that Israel is not obeying the international law, that Israel is doing what it can without when it's ignoring what the international community has to say about it. But I think that the fact that for the first time in 4 months, new missiles were launched towards the center of Israel, towards the main business center of Israel, to the Tel Aviv area. It's another proof why Israel is working so hard to get rid of Hamas in this specific area. But it's not the only objective. The Israeli army has said over and over again that the reason that the IDF is working so hard to get into Rafah is to find the Israeli hostages, these two Israeli citizens who were kidnapped by Hamas and are being held there.
Right, Aaron, thanks so much for joining us with the latest update. The Ministry of Health in Gaza, meanwhile, has said at least 35 Palestinians were killed and dozens more were injured as a result of Israeli air attacks on a camp in Rafah for displaced people. Let's turn our attention now to the French Riviera. A bridge between cinema's top players and emerging art house talent, the Cannes Film Festival has a habit of turning the spotlight on countries and continents that stand out for their creativity, influence or singularity. This year, it has been India's turn to shine. Payal Kapadia's All We Imagine as Light is the first Indian film to feature in the festival's main competition in a staggering 30 years. There was praise too for Sandhya Suri's Santosh, about a woman police officer facing sexism and corruption as she investigates the murder of a young girl from a lower caste. Film and Television Institute of India student Chidananda S. Nayak bagged the first prize in the last Cinef section for Sunflowers Were the First Ones to Know, which is a 15-minute short film based on a Kannada folklore. And Indian-born Mansi Maheshwari's Bunnyhood, an animated film, bagged the third prize. Here are the highlights.
In a landmark moment for Indian cinema, Payal Kapadia has made history as her film All We Imagine Is Light won the Grand Prix Award at the 77th Cannes Film Festival. Kapadia's riveting drama is the first Indian film to be showcased at the renowned festival in 30 years and the first ever by an Indian female director.
Thank you so much for this. It was already a dream to be selected in competition. And this was beyond my imagination, so thank you. And because I'm a huge fan of Miguel Gomes, I follow what he does and also invite my actors here on stage. Because without them, I don't think this film would have been possible. It's 3 women who've given me so much and been really contributed to the film like a family and made it their own. So thank you, ladies.
The Grand Prix Prize, also known as the Jury Prize, is the second most prestigious award at the Cannes Film Festival, and one that is well deserved for Kapadia's film, which received an enthusiastic 8-minute standing ovation at its world premiere earlier this week. Led by American filmmaker Greta Gerwig, who was president, the feature film jury consisted of Lily Gladstone, Omar Sy, Ebru Chehan, Juan Antonio Bayona, Eva Green, Hirokazu Koreda, Nadine Labaki, and Pier Francesco Favino. All We Imagine Is Light follows nurse Prabha, whose routine is troubled when she receives an unexpected gift from her estranged husband. Accompanied by her roommate Anu, the two find their way in and out of Mumbai while navigating the complexities of love and relationships in this ode to sisterhood. Publications across the globe, from the BBC to The Guardian, have given the film glowing reviews, calling it glorious and an absorbing story full of humanity. For NDTV, this is Samia Afzal.
Meanwhile, cinematographer Santosh Sivan became the first Asian to be awarded the Pierre Angelier Tribute Award with recognition for his career and exceptional quality of work. Additionally, as you know, Anasuya Sengupta became the first Indian to win the Best Actress prize in The Shameless. But Payal Kapadia's All We Imagine Is Light is the first Indian film to feature in the festival's main competition in a staggering 30 years. Ms. Kapadia spoke to France 24. Listen into what she had to say.
My name is Payal Kapadia. My film is called All We Imagine As Light.
ഇത് പ്രവേശിക്കാണല്ലോ ഇതിപ്പോ ആരയക്കാനാ ഒന്നും കാണുന്നില്ല ഇതെന്താ ഇംഗ്ലീഷിൽ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട്.
The film is about the friendship between three women and the kind of friendships one makes one moves away from one's family and makes another city their home. I think a lot of young people would understand that.
ചേച്ചി ഞാൻ ഇറങ്ങിക്കോ വീട്ടിൽ കാണാം.
സിസ്റ്ററിന്റെ റൂംമേറ്റിനെ ഈടായിട്ട് എന്തൊക്കെയോ ഒരു മാറ്റം ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചായിരുന്നു? അവളൊരു പയ്യനുമായിട്ട് ഇഷ്ടത്തില്ല.
A lot of times in the system of the patriarchy, women are sort of pitted against each other. There is an aspect of bringing the other one down. It's so internalized that this is what happens, which is a real pity, because I think that if solidarity could exist beyond the patriarchy, it could be such a great thing for all of us.
ആൾക്കാരെ നമുക്കറിയാം, പക്ഷെ നല്ലതാണ് വലിയ സമയം.
And from Uttar Pradesh's Meerut to the French Riviera, our next guest is inspired by comedy movies like Welcome or even director David Dhawan's films. She actually believes these are films with loads of characters and lots of jokes, and it's indicative of the flavor of our country, where so much is going on at any point in time. She actually loves comedy and likes mixing it with horror. We have with us Bunnyhood director Mansi Maheshwari. Thank you so much, Mansi, for joining us on the World 24/7. Bunnyhood is such a wild ride. How was it born as both a project and a concept? Does the film stem from a personal story? Was the movie made with Can in mind? I'm well aware I'm bombarding you with questions, but we want to know everything.
No, I didn't have. I didn't even know Can would take animation. So when I first got in, my dad asked me, what other categories are there? And I was like, I've never even looked up the website. I have no idea. And I think this film, we had no idea. It was my first time filmmaking. We were just doing whatever made us laugh. Every step of the way, we were just having fun, making ourselves laugh. And we were like, okay, this made us laugh, put it in the film. This made us laugh, put it in the film. And I think that really worked. Anywhere we take the film, people laugh, and that's it. People have been lied to. People have lied to people, and everyone gets it. It's very simple. We're not trying to say anything big.
Well, given the intense energy of the short, I imagine it took quite a while to assemble it that way. But Mansi, Bunnyhood has managed to blend the horror and comedy genres. Honestly, it's so refreshing to see animation as a form and a genre growing in India. But in terms of existing Indian movies, some would actually argue you rarely see animation. Do you see the landscape changing in India?
I think people are just scared to be original, or not even original, just experiment with the technique. We have seen a few kinds of animation, which is 2D, 3D, CGI animation. But animation is a medium that you can literally animate. It's frame by frame. You can take anything and you can make it move, and that is what animation means. So I think once people start exploring that, there's going to be so much more originality coming out, and I think this is one reason why people like Bunnyhood.
Well, we'll be keeping a close watch on what you'll be working on next. Thank you so much, Mansi, for joining us on NDTV. Well, let's turn our attention now to the other big story we're tracking. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is facing a mass departure of lawmakers, with the number of resignations surpassing the level the Conservative Party actually suffered before a landslide defeat back in the 1997 election. After Rishi Sunak called a surprise early election for the 4th of July, at least 78 members of parliament of his Conservative Party have announced their decision not to stand for re-election. In fact, high-profile UK members of Parliament Michael Gove and Andrea Leadsom have actually joined a record-breaking exodus of Conservative MPs from the UK House of Commons, further indicating the turmoil within the party ahead of the upcoming general election. Former Prime Minister Theresa May is also among the senior MPs stepping away, with former Defence Minister Ben Wallace already having announced his decision to actually leave frontline politics. But Conservative members of Parliament say so many colleagues were leaving because it was unlikely that the party would win the election, and many had grown tired of the infighting as well as polarisation in Parliament. To better understand what's happening in Westminster, Nicholas joins us with a quick update from Ground Zero. Thanks so much, Nicholas, for making time for us. Many Tory MPs are saying they won't contest. Are these warning bells for Rishi Sunak? In fact, the opinion polls suggest his Conservative Party is starting the campaign a long way behind its main rival, the Labour Party.
Well, I think he's got the warning bells already because the opinion polls show that there is virtually no chance of the Conservative Party forming the next government.
Indeed.
Now, that doesn't mean all the current members of Parliament are going to lose their positions as MPs, but a lot of them are. No question about that. The number of MPs for the Conservative Party may be cut to half the present level. So in that sense, it's really not a surprise that after 14 years of the Conservative Party being in power, a lot of them have said enough is enough. They're going off to do something else, or indeed they're going to retire. But we always get a bit surprised when the numbers creep up, and I think it's around 80 members of the Conservative Party.
78, but Mr. Sunak will be hoping that improving economic news and a focus on the party's policy platforms will actually help the Tories turn things around as the campaign progresses. But the Labour Party now has an average poll lead of 23 percentage points, a deficit that no governing party has successfully overcome in an election campaign. As we speak, Nicholas, is it fair to say that there's almost no chance that the Conservative Party can turn things around?
It's very unlikely. I mean, 6 weeks before polling and 21 points amiss in the opinion polls. In other words, 21 points behind the opposition Labour Party. They can pick up some of that, and they may well do so. But in the 3 or 4 days since the announcement of the election, we haven't really seen the signs of that. So it is a case of despair within the ruling Conservative Party. They don't have a good record. And least of all, the number of times their leadership has changed. We're talking about 14 years, but we've had 4 Conservative Prime Ministers in that time, which is a bit excessive, really. And the current incumbent, Rishi Sunak, he's only been in power as Prime Minister for a year and a half. So he's got a long way to go. The widespread expectation is that this election will be lost by the Conservatives. There's a little bit more of a question mark as to who will win. We assume that the Labour Party will win, but there are other factors, notably the situation in Wales, the situation in Scotland. That's where regional issues come to the fore. So I'm certainly not going to make predictions of the outcome of the election beyond saying that there is, I would say, almost no chance that the Conservatives will turn things around and form the next government.
Well, for the third time in a row, the UK general election starting gun was fired early by a Conservative Prime Minister. So far, as you've pointed out, all the evidence suggests that it is Mr. Sunak's Labour opponent, Keir Starmer, who's about to make history. But life, Nicholas, must seem bleak for the British Prime Minister these days. Does he have a lot to worry about in terms of his leadership for the Tories?
No, his situation at the moment is he's just trying to put a brave face on the situation of the Conservative Party. Why should he have other worries? He's as is well known, he's a very rich man. He doesn't need the job for his livelihood. He can go off and do something else, and probably will. But I think he's a popular figure. He's certainly a popular figure within his constituency in Yorkshire. So there's every chance he will be re-elected to Parliament. I think he had one of the larger majorities beforehand. So personally, I don't think he's got much to worry about. But in terms of his leadership of the Conservative Party, he's got quite a lot to worry about.
Well, Nicholas, thanks so much for joining us with the latest from Ground Zero. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates in the run-up to the July 4th election. And as always, news and updates continue on the World 24/7. We're slipping into a very quick break.